In the world of espionage, loyalty is everything, and betrayal? It's deadly. Aldrich Ames was born in 1941, the son of a CIA analyst. From the very beginning, his life revolved around secrets. He grew up in a home where classified files were normal, where phone calls were coded, and where trust was conditional. By his early 20s, Ames joined the CIA himself, almost like a family tradition. But Aldrich wasn't the charismatic James Bond type. He was quiet, unremarkable, invisible. And in the world of spies, that made him perfect. He rose through the ranks slowly, working in counterintelligence, eventually focusing on the Soviet Union, America's greatest adversary during the Cold War. By the 1980s, he was stationed in Washington, D.C., with access to some of the most sensitive information in the U.S. government. He knew names, he knew operations, he knew everything. But he had a problem. Ames had just gone through a bitter divorce. His finances were in ruins, he drank heavily, and he had remarried to a woman who expected luxury. He wanted money, fast, and he knew exactly how to get it. On April 16, 1985, Ames walked into the Soviet embassy in Washington, D.C., a place he had monitored, watched, and reported on for years. But this time, he wasn't watching. He was walking in, carrying with him the names of every CIA asset operating inside the Soviet Union. It was the single most damaging intelligence leak in CIA history. The KGB couldn't believe it. They thought it was a trap, but it wasn't. Ames demanded $50,000 in exchange. The Soviets paid him immediately, no questions asked. That was the beginning. He left that embassy with blood money in his pocket and a cold, calculated look on his face. For the next 9 years, Ames would become the most devastating mole the CIA had ever faced. A man who sold secrets, betrayed friends, and caused the deaths of over 10 American operatives. And yet, for nearly a decade, nobody suspected a thing. Aldrich Ames wasn't just selling information, he was selling lives. Within weeks of his first contact with the KGB, the Soviet secret police began quietly eliminating American assets inside the USSR. People began to disappear. A CIA informant in Moscow, gone. A senior military officer secretly passing information to the West, arrested and executed. In just 1 year, over a dozen CIA assets vanished, some imprisoned, others shot in basements with a single bullet to the head. And no one at Langley could explain it. Inside the CIA, panic spread like wildfire. Was there a leak? A double agent? A failure in the communication network? Teams were formed. Operations were paused. Agents began turning on each other. But through it all, Aldrich Ames sat quietly at his desk. He helped investigate the leaks. Smiling, calm, efficient. He wrote reports. He shook hands. He expressed outrage. He even attended funerals. To everyone around him, Ames was loyal, professional, brilliant. But behind the scenes, he was feeding the KGB a steady stream of secrets. Files, photographs, surveillance reports, agent lists. And he was getting paid handsomely. Over the years, he would receive more than $2.5 million from the Soviet Union. He bought a $540,000 house in cash. He drove luxury cars, wore expensive suits, took lavish vacations with his wife. But no one in the CIA asked questions, because no one suspected Aldrich Ames. He was too careful, too boring, too average. He had built the perfect cover. All the while, the KGB praised him. He became one of their most trusted assets. They even gave him a code name, Kolokol, the Bell. Every time the CIA sent a new agent into Moscow, Ames would tell the KGB, and within days, that agent would be gone. By 1990, More than 30 American intelligence assets had either been killed or captured. The damage was catastrophic, and yet Aldrich Ames was still getting away with it. By the early 1990s, the CIA finally knew something was wrong. Too many agents had vanished, too many operations had failed, and too many internal investigations led nowhere. So they did something radical. They stopped looking outside and began looking within. In 1991, a joint CIA-FBI task force began quietly reviewing everyone with access to Soviet operations. They examined finances, patterns, lifestyles, and one name stood out: Aldrich Ames. On paper, his salary was modest, but in real life, he lived like royalty. A $540,000 home in Arlington, a Jaguar in the driveway, designer clothes, international vacations. He claimed his wife had inherited money, but it didn't add up. So they watched him. For 2 years, the FBI placed hidden cameras in his home, tapped his phones, read his mail, even collected his trash. And what they found was undeniable: bank records from Moscow, secret meetings, a pattern of behavior too perfect to ignore. On February 21, 1994, as Ames left his home for work, the FBI closed in. He was arrested without incident. His wife was taken the same day. In custody, Ames confessed immediately: calm, cold, no emotion. He admitted to selling out his country. He named every document, every agent, every meeting. When asked why he did it, he said, "It was just business." In court, Aldrich Ames pleaded guilty to espionage. He was sentenced to life in prison, without parole. His wife received 63 months for aiding and abetting. The CIA was humiliated. 30 years of secrets, undone by one man. Dozens of lives lost, hundreds of operations compromised, an entire agency forced to question its own. Today, Ames sits in a maximum security prison in Pennsylvania. He's never expressed remorse. He rarely speaks to the press. He says he regrets getting caught, not betraying his country. To this day, the CIA considers his betrayal one of the worst in U.S. history. But it wasn't just about secrets. It was about trust. A man who looked like a friend was working for the enemy. A handshake that meant death. A smile hiding a lie. In the end, Aldrich Ames didn't just betray an agency. He betrayed an entire generation of intelligence professionals. And he proved one haunting truth. Sometimes the most dangerous spy is the one sitting right next to you.